We are back for the summer transfer window with Sunderland, which is going to be our second season in charge. And much like the first, we have basically no money to spend. And I know that because the transfer budget and the wage budget email came through in a really weird place before the season review, or any other sort of email came through at the end of the season. But we'll get to that in a minute. We're going to do this in an orderly manner, which before looking at the transfer budget means actually looking at what we did last season. So here we go. It is the season review of the 27-28 season with Sunderland, where obviously we joined midway through the season, I think midway through December, definitely before the January transfer window. Anyway, we've had quite a few transfers in. Some of these are obviously ours. Anar Pettersson coming in from Mold for 3.9 million. He only made those 3 appearances just at the end of the season, but he has managed to get a 7.6 rating, so that looks like it was a pretty good signing. Julian Bruxer came over on loan from Chelsea. Luke Mbete also joined this season. I'm also finding out what players actually joined this season because these happened before I arrived. Zach Emerson came in for 2.3 million from MK Dons. That happened this season as well. He's made 15 starting appearance, 16 off the bench. He scored 5 goals. Definitely not a very prolific striker. We then brought in Tayo Adamarola from Crystal Palace on loan. David Thompson from Norwich was already on loan here. We then got Reguagui from Lyon on loan for the season in January, and we also brought in Magne Hansen for £4 million from wherever this is, Bodo Glimt. I don't even know what country this is. I mean, I'm sure somebody in the comments will actually be able to tell me, because I genuinely have little to no idea what country this is. Oh, it is in Norway. I mean, that makes sense because he is a Norwegian striker. I probably should have guessed that. Either way, we spent £4 million on him. He made 17 starting appearances, got himself 6 goals. It wasn't quite what we were hoping from this man, especially when you have a look at his attributes. A very good, obviously we're playing him as an advanced forward, so very good at finishing, or very reasonable at finishing, and really good pace. I mean, he's literally described as a pacey goal scorer, but he hasn't really scored that many goals for us. I mean, 5 in the league, got himself an assist. He got a couple of player of the matches, but those goals were very much, I think there was 2 in one match, 2 in another match, and 1 in a third match to bring his total to 5 for the season. And we also brought Pablo Mari in, who is a guy I want rid of as soon as possible. There's 2 reasons. He's 34, and he managed to give away a penalty and get hit in the head by a ball within our first couple of games, and I've never forgiven him. Transfers out, Rise. I mean, you can see there was quite a lot of these. All these guys happened before we got here. Keelan, that guy, we sold him. But you can just have a look down, see through here. Are all the players out this season? Maybe this is part of the problem. There was a lot of players out. There wasn't necessarily as many players in, and actually, I think we actually spent less in than we did out. Loans out, we've had some players out on loan. Hayden Farmer over at Newcastle United Jets made 7 appearances and has scored 2 goals. He was one I wanted to double check as well, because I think, no, he does come back in a month's time or so. I wasn't sure because he was in Australia if I'd sent him over there for the entire year, but he is back soon, so we will have him for next season should we want him. I mean, he's not quite ready yet, but he does have a lot of potential, so maybe we keep him around for squad depth. In terms of the season results, though, we're not going to take full blame for this. In fact, we're not going to take any blame for this. The Black Cats suffered a disappointing campaign. From our part, we found them down just above the relegation zone, and we've managed to take them to a 13th place finish on 60 points. So I feel our part in this season went very, very well, and you can kind of see that we've joined around here. And it wasn't an easy sort of start, but then you hit January and February time and you can see a lot more green. Not the best end to the season, but I think it's a good final position given where we found the team. We're filling out 73% of our home attendance, though, which isn't great. I feel we could do a little bit better. We got knocked out in the 5th round by Manchester City, which I kind of feel is fairly reasonable to be knocked out by Manchester City when you're Sunderland. And in the Carabao Cup, we got knocked out by Huddersfield. But again, all of that happened before our time, both of those happening in August. In terms of moments to remember then, our biggest win was against Luton. I think that might have even been our first match in charge, that 3-0 win against Luton. We also saw in one of the first episodes the 2-2 draw against Preston, where we were 2-0 down and then managed to pull it back in the 92nd minute. And then Ballard also gets goal of the season. In terms of club reputation, nothing's changed. We're still a 3-star national recognised team. No new sponsorship deals, annual revenue. We've managed to bring the sponsorship up just a tiny bit. I mean, it's basically flat. In terms of football, that's not a lot of extra money. So it's basically flat to last year. We've got less broadcast revenue. We've got less corporate and hospitality. We have won a bit more competition prize money, and we've got less match day commercial and retail, although, again, that's a pretty much flat figure. So we really need to be improving that next season. And the only way of doing that really is to win matches and get more eyes on the Sunderland product. In terms of shirt sales, then, we've sold just under 20,000 shirts. Our main players getting them are Hawaii, Matete, Emerson, Anthony and Ballard. This is our best 11 for the season, and it's Patterson in goal, Adaramola over at left back, Mbete and Ballard accompanying Saketa to finish up that 4 in defence. We've then got Hawaii in the defensive midfielder position. I wouldn't say performed very well there, to be honest. We've then got White and Wigagui over in the centre of the park. Anthony on the left, Clark on the right, and Emerson up front. Clark and Anthony, absolutely our best performers this season, which is highlighted by the fact they're the only one with a green rating other than Patterson, who was probably actually our best performer this season. In terms of accolades then, fans player of the season goes to Jaden Anthony. Young player of the season goes to Jaden Sakete over at right back. We then got signing of the season is Magne Hansen. Top goal scorer is Ross Stewart, who's barely been playing with 12 goals. In fact, if we have a look at him, only 8 of those are in the league from 34 appearances. It's really not a very good return in terms of goals, and we do need to sort that out next season, either through Magne Hansen embedding himself in the side and scoring a lot more goals, or by bringing someone else in the summer. Given the transfer budget, I think it's going to have to be the former of those two. Most assists goes to Jack Clark with 7 assists. Again, we probably need some improvement there. 7 assists really isn't a lot, although is that all Jack Clark's fault? Probably not, because as we've noticed, no one can actually score, and he can't assist if no one can score the goals he's putting on a platter for them. Most player of the match awards goes to Anthony Patterson. Highest average rating actually goes to Anthony Patterson as well. And he also breaks records for most clean sheets by a player in a season with his 18 clean sheets, which again, considering this is a relegation threatened team, I think only conceding 45 goals and getting 18 clean sheets is probably quite a good season, to be honest. And yet we're still not sure if he starts as our first choice goalkeeper next season. We've also got the dynamic timeline. We're just going to whiz along to the end. Not really a lot going on. We've joined the club. We've made some signings. And our 300 games in charge. So our 300th game in charge was a 4-1 loss to Manchester City. I'd just like to highlight, because I think it's hilariously funny, if we go and have a look, our 200 games in charge, we lost that one 3-1 against Woking when we were at Forest Green. And our 100 matches in charge is somewhere at Taunton. There it is. We marked that one by losing 4-1. Basically, our 400th game, we're probably going to get battered 6-0 by a team in the Vanarama National League or something. Supporter profile then, absolutely nothing has changed in that. We've got 11% hardcore fans, 34% core. I mean, you can see the figures on the screen. There's no need for me to read them all out. Nothing has changed. We have lost 5,000 social media followers though, which would indicate to me that people are not enjoying watching the football club and no longer want to be notified about our results, because I assume they were pretty depressing at the start of the season. We've also now got to go and meet our board. We're just going to accept it, because I don't know if you've noticed in Football Manager, but you can negotiate these things. I've never ever been able to negotiate any sort of club vision. You just take it off and they add it back on. So we'll just have a look at it though. Play high tempo pressing football. We've been doing that this season. The board were very pleased with that. Sign players under the age of 23 for the first team. They were very pleased with that. Work within the wage budget. We're on course for that, by which I mean we are currently doing it. it's going to be more difficult this season. They want us to grow the club's reputation as well. It doesn't sort of give us a time frame for that, but we'll try and do that this season. This season, they want us to finish in the top half, and then they kind of want us to be achieving the playoffs from there on out. We've also got the end of season team meeting. I'm sure this will go absolutely wonderfully, as they always do. It's been a long season. I hope you all have a good break. You're going to need to come back fully refreshed because I'm aiming to finish in the top half next time round. Okay, they're all happy with that. We can discuss promises later on because I don't want to promise anything because you'll hold it against me and get in a strop when I don't manage to fulfill it because I'm not magic. So we're just going to let you go on holiday. We're also, as you can see, offering out quite a lot of players. Some of these have contracts ending at the end of the season. For example, Joe Ryder, others like Patrick Roberts. I feel at 31 years old and a 2.5-star current ability League One player, we're never going to play with him. The problem is, I mean, he's on quite a lot of wages and just no one wants him. We'll just offer him out again, though, just in case. But we don't want to pay any of his wages because we have no money. And that leads us back a day to when we got this initial email. The board have set the initial wage budget for the coming season at £500,000 a week and a transfer budget at 2.38 million, which was the absolute bare minimum they promised us. They did not go a penny over it. It means we've got that 2.38 million in the transfer budget. But in the wage budget, when you actually look at it, we don't really have a lot spare. 21,000 when you have a look at our squad, and we just arrange this very quickly by wage. We've got Ross Stewart on 28,000, Daniel Ballard on 28,000, and then it kind of goes down from there. So realistically, what the club are telling us is right this second, we could sign maybe one player. And that leads us to working out where that one player needs to be. I mean, if we're just having a look position by position, which is what I'm going to do in goalkeepers, I feel like we're pretty sorted. We've got Patterson, who was on number 1 this season. Patterson, who is probably going to be on number 1 next season, I think, just because of the amount of potential he's got. And in fact, he's only 20. And we've got Daniel Cameron, who's just a backup. I mean, he's there. He's present. He's a leading National League goalkeeper. If we can improve him, we will. But realistically, we're probably not going to get anyone in for a cheaper wage. So he probably stays here, I'd imagine. Defenders on the left then, Julian Broxler will go. Adam Ramola, we'd like to offer him a contract because his contract, as we mentioned in the last episode, does expire at the same time as the end of his loan deal. So we might be able to offer him a contract, get him in on a free. I think we'd be pretty happy with that. We've also got Robbie Liddington, who is wanted by a couple of clubs, but we'd like to keep hold of him. And then we've got Harry Toffolo, who realistically we'd quite like to sell this season. So that kind of leaves us at the moment with just Robbie Liddington as a left back, unless we can get Adaramola to stay here. Central wise, we've got Julian Bruxer who will go. So we've got Daniel Mallard, we've got Luke Mbete, and we've got Scott Allardyce, who is on the transfer list, and Pablo Mari, who's on the transfer list and has actually got bids against him, so he'll be off. So we probably need a centre-back. And then at right-back, we've got David Thompson, who's on loan, and we've got Jaden Sakete, so we need someone there as well. It does mean we probably look at our squads down below. So our next best right-back at the moment is Zach Johnson, who's a 2-star right-back, the current National League level, so I don't think he is going to work out. So far, just to resume that, we probably need a left back, we need at least one centre back, and we need a right back. Defensive midfielders then, who do we start there? I mean, probably Jay Matete, I think, continues starting there. We've got Abdu Hawoy can play there as well. So we're probably covered at defensive midfielder positions. Allardyce maybe leaves. Harvey White can play there. If we then have a look at central midfielders, if both of those are covering our defensive midfielder position, then that only leaves us with Harvey White and Scott Allardyce to play. So count with me, a left back, a centre back, a right back, and a central midfielder. That's so far 4 players. Attacking midfielders over on the left then. We've got Jaden Anthony can play there. Hopefully Ross Stewart leaves because he's on a obscene wage. So we've got Jaden Anthony. We've probably got Evan Robson can play there as well. I mean, again, let's just have a look at the under-21 squad. Maybe we've got players that can play there. Callum Lang, but we'd like to offload him as well. Maybe Aaron Turner. Let's have a look at Aaron Turner. Maybe Aaron Turner could do a little bit of a job, but he's not really ready. So we could probably do with a left winger. On the right, we've then got Jack Clark, who can play there. And even Robson can kind of play there. He's been playing there a little bit. So, I mean, I wouldn't be comfortable with that. But even Robson could do a job. Again, he's only a League Two standard player. So we could do with a little bit more depth there. And then when we're looking up front, this is probably where we are actually strongest. We've got Magne Hansen. We've got Zach Emerson. As it stands, we've got Ross Stewart. We've also got Hayden Farmer, who's out on loan at the moment. We've got Evan Robson, who can step in there. We've got Tommy Pugh-Scott, who can step in there. So I think we're all right up front. But realistically, with that £2 million, we've got, what was it, 2.38 million. So 2.4 million. We need a left back. We need at least one centre back. We need a right back. We need a central midfielder. As an absolute minimum, we need 4 players. It's going to be a really long summer, especially when you head over to the scouting reports and you start having a quick look at who is actually available. I mean, one of our best scouted players is Federico Pereira, a great Ukrainian centre or right back at Watford, but 8.4 million, we just can't get anywhere near that. So we'd probably be looking at someone like James Ebankwa, who can kind of cover at centre back and at right back, and as defensive midfielder. His lowest end is £350,000 according to our scouting report. If we could get a player like that, that would be kind of ideal. But anyone below him, 6 million, 4 million, 4 million, 4 million, 2 million, 10 million, 1.5 million. I mean, we just can't afford these players. And we still have the thing of looking at our projection. We're actually clawing back some money because this was £70 million. It's now only £58 million. So we've done something right, but it's just really still not a lot of money. We've also asked for stuff like a senior affiliate, but we just keep getting from the club that we haven't been here long enough yet. So they're not willing to talk to us about adding anything on. No senior affiliate, no anything. I mean, the training facility has been affected by these advancement requests. Improved training facilities were tried at, but they just don't want to give us anything. So what we're going to have to do is go away, do a lot of scouting, and try and find some very cheap players. All of that while simultaneously trying to offload our own players. Again, it's going to be a really long summer. So we've gone forward about a month and we have arrived at the day where the transfer window has opened. We've so far made 3 signings to try and add some squad depth and just some quality to the team. The first through the door is Keir Smith, 23-year-old Scottish centre-back. You can see he's 3 stars of current ability and 4 stars of potential ability. He comes to us from Aston Villa. We've got him on a free. It's literally, we bid £0 for him and they were happy to take that. I think if you're having a look at his coach report, good championship player, could be a leading championship player. Impressive jumping reach could be nice as well. When you have a look at that 17 jumping reach, and he's currently 6'4" at 23 years old. The man is very, very tall, and he could be very, very good at set pieces and just gives us a little bit more depth in the centre of the park. We've then also brought in Dante Casanova from Everton, another one who we just bid £0 for as his contract was ending this season, and they were happy to take that. He can play over as our wing back. I'm aware his crossing is 10. It's not fantastic, and he can cover at centre back should we need him to as well, but he's definitely more of a right back. He can play in central midfield if we need him to. He's another one, 3 stars of current ability. He could become a decent Premier League player in the future, and we've paid no money for him, so that's really, really nice. We've also got Jacob Storm Hoyer. I mean, the fact that his name is Jacob Storm, and it's another Norwegian striker. We seem to be collecting them. Again, I can't think why we'd want Norwegian strikers. He can cover, obviously, in the striker position. His finishing leaves a little bit to be desired, but I don't think that's what we're bringing him in for. He can either play over on the left, which gives us a nice cover out there, or he can play through the centre, and I'm thinking this season we do what we did with Forest Green. The first season, it was a 4-3-3, and it was very much, let's try and win some points and put some points on the board. In the second season, after we got promoted, I just smacked my face on a microphone. The second season after we got promoted, we switched to a 4-2-3-1, and we're having a lot of success with that. When we were with them, obviously, at the start of this season, we only did half a season with it, but it was working. And I kind of think that's what we're heading towards this season. We have got some more transfers coming in as well. They're just going to be here because they are end of contract signings, so we do have to wait until the end of the month to go and get those ones, but there are some more on the way. You can see as well we have got some players leaving the club. Callum Lang has gone over to Sheffield Wednesday for 325,000. He was 29 years old. We weren't really using him very much. I mean, he made 21 appearances last season, but if you have a look at them down here, only 7 of them were actually starting appearances, and I just didn't really think he was worth having in the side. Joe Ryder, who we've been trying to get rid of, has gone finally to Cheltenham on a free transfer. The fans are very, very happy about that, and we're still trying to offload some other players and just not doing a very good deal of it. Oh, Finney McDonald. Somebody's bidding for Finney McDonald. If we can get him for £67,000, I'm going to bite their hand off. Are they actually accepting that? I mean, he's got to be worth a look at, surely. We're just going to give him another scout. But, I mean, Finney McDonald was fantastic. So I think, if nothing else, if we're looking at this, maybe he's not worth the punt. It's hard to know. At the moment, we're just going to keep going through some more transfers, hopefully offload some players. We did have a transfer bid accepted for Ross Stewart, so we were trying to sell him. I think it was for 1.5 million, and the board came in and cancelled it, saying they wanted at least 1.8 million, which is so annoying because we're spending £28,000 a week on him. And really, there's just no value in that. There's no reason to be doing that at all. That's going to be this. I think this is going to be the formation. We just need to find some players now to actually fit in it properly. So there's a little bit of a story to this. Shakhtar Sukti, obviously formerly of Forest Green Rovers, or still of Forest Green Rovers, but we have made a bid for him, trying to bring him over. He's still only 20, and I think he has got some decent potential. I guess the rest of the story that I need to show you is what happened with Nightingale. So we spent about a month chasing Lewis Nightingale. We eventually got a bid accepted for him that worked for both us and Forest Green. He came to us. He spoke to us about a contract. We thought we had him. And then he went off to Fulham to play in the Fulham under-18s as a fringe player that will realistically probably eventually get to play in the Premier League, but not as quick as if he just came to us and played with us this season. It was very disheartening because this is probably one of the favourite players that I've had in this FM save, or in any FM save really, because he's past 17 now. The guy is absolute filth, but something has made it a little bit better. And that is the return of another Forest Green favourite. You might remember Vangelis, those of you who have watched for a while. He's currently 21 years old. When we were at Forest Green, he was our first big sell. We sold him to West Brom for £1 million. He played there twice. He headed over to Aris in Greece for a season where he's been there. And we've just signed him for 2.4 million, which it sounds a lot, but we haven't paid a lot of that up front. I think we've paid 400,000, maybe 500,000 up front. He's agreed to come over as a squad player as well, which is absolutely insane. I mean, if we have a look at this guy, he's a current championship standard player who could still improve a lot. He's got English second nationality. I mean, the guy can do it all, and we absolutely loved having Vangelis. He can cover in the Mazzala role, so he is that central midfielder we said we needed. He can also cover in the central attacking midfielder role, which is what we're going to be playing this season. And we know from past experience that when we need him, he can play as a pretty decent advanced forward. Ignore that 9 finishing. This man can score goals when we need him to. In fact, his last season at Forest Green, he'd started doing it. The season before that in League 2, he was banging them in. I'm very, very happy to have Vangelis again. It makes the sting of losing Lewis Nightingale just that little bit better. We're going to welcome him to the team. The wondering if a player recently relegated is good enough. I mean, he wasn't recently relegated. He wasn't at the team. So we're just going to completely ignore that. Vangelis comes straight in. And I think realistically, we put him here. I mean, I think, where is he? Why can't I see him? Oh, because I hold on. Let's actually highlight the senior squad. I was scared he hadn't arrived then. I think we put him in here next to Jay White. If anything, do we put Jay White here? Do we put someone else? I'm not really sure at the moment. it probably gives us maybe a little bit of scope if we need to sell some players as well. I mean, Casanova can play there, White can play there. It would be nice to keep Rogagui for this season as well, and it would have been nice to have a Nightingale, but we can't have it all. If we bring Suckdy in as well, we can definitely potentially move some of these players on. I mean, Jay Matete, let's have a look. Your passing is 13 and your vision is 12. If we have a look at Jay White in that role, not Jay White, Harry White, and we look at him, his passing is 13 and his vision is 11. So they're about equal, I guess. Who's the youngest out of you two? Matete, maybe? I mean, he's 27. They're about the same age as well. So at the moment, I think we leave White in there. It kind of, as it stands, looks like this. This is our team going into the first day of the season at the moment. We still need another left back. We offered a contract to Adaramola. He's decided to go elsewhere, over to Leeds next season rather than remain with us, which is, in all honesty, a little bit rude. We have got some more transfers coming in, as I mentioned. We're just waiting for some contacts to end. Scott Allardyce is under a £2 million bid as well, so that will sort out that wage budget and potentially add a little bit more back into transfer budget. And Ross Stewart is under a £2 million bid as well, though we would have to pay some of his wages because no one will pay the £28,000 he's on, and the board won't let us sell him for anything less than £2 million. But hopefully we can get a few more players out and then some more players in. At the moment, we're working on it. Sorry as well for those of you who watch this series for a little while, just some other news as well. I just kind of had a look at Forest Green because Paul Robertson came up on my scout report and he did not perform in anywhere near the same quality that second season. So once he was purchased, he just seemed to fall off a bit. But I was having a look at Forest Green. Let's just go back forward to this. And Forest Green have got themselves promoted. They finished third in the league. We obviously left them first and they've gone up through the playoffs, but they've beat Wigan 2-0. So they're going to be in the same league as us next season, which is absolutely amazing. And it makes sense now why they didn't want to let go of Lewis Nightingale, because realistically, he would have been a fantastic player for them. If we just have a look at the Sky Bet League One as well, and the league table, I mean, they finished 8 points behind Millwall and Bristol City, which are the teams coming up this season. But Forest Green are going to be in the same league as us next season. They did it after all. We ended up in the same league. I'm a little bit annoyed because I reckon they might actually have a better wage budget and transfer budget than we have. I have no way of seeing this, I don't think. I mean, if we look at transfer history so far, they've not really done anything yet. They're just kind of working on loans. So no business going on yet at Forest Green. But keep an eye on it because I genuinely think they're going to end up a bigger transfer budget than we do. And there is another player leaving the squad. Scott Allardyce is heading over to Cardiff. We're going to get 1.4, well, he's going for 2 million. We're going to get 1.4 million added to our transfer kitty, and it does mean that we get a little bit of more wage budget off of the books as well. Also, Ross Stewart is about to leave, so that's going to be another 1.4 million added to the transfer kitty, which we go and have a look at it now. We're back up to £3.5 million, and if we have a look at the wage budget, we've got another £32,000 to spend. And one of those players is coming in straight away, Shakhtar Sukhdi from Forest Green, a former hero. We're just bringing them all back. Vangelis is coming back. Sukhdi's coming back. I mean, look at this, man. Championship standard player, could improve as well. Under 21. These are the players we brought in at Forest Green. We're just bringing them all to Sunderland. It's going to be Forest Green 2.0 this season, but I definitely think he was worth bringing in. I mean, if we have a look at the finances now, that's instantly dropped back down quite a bit, but we've got about £3 million to spend, £17,000 in the transfer kitty. We just ask Mbete to welcome Shakhtar Sukhdi, who I'm sure is very, very happy to be coming and, you know, joining me again. And somehow since we did the season review, we've gained another 206,000 social media followers, which I don't really understand how that happens. What we are doing at the moment, because the main position we haven't done anything with yet, is left back, mainly because we thought we were going to get someone in and then that didn't pan out. We're not really finding anything It's massively good quality at the moment. We've got Heldar Sarr is about the only one we could afford there. David Morea we could afford now, and he could improve a little bit, and his crossings actually 15, so that might be, if we put him on wing back at support, he might be worth a little look-see, I think. 1.6 million asking to leave, wanted by QPR and Brescia. Maybe we go and have a look at this guy. We've then got the this option as well, Juan Hilarios, who is Spanish, left back currently at Southampton. The thing is, they want £6.2 million for him, and actually, I think this other guy might be a little bit better. We've got some near matches to go through as well, so that's going to be our priority, spending that money, I think, on a left back. Maybe we just splash that 1.6 million on this guy. Maybe we can put a little bit of it in installments, see if we can bring in a couple more players. And another one leaving the club, and seriously, this one in particular, Pablo Mari, good riddance. So we did end up signing the left back we were looking at, David Moreira. He's come over from Villarreal. He cost us 1.6 million. He's going to be playing as our wing back. I'm not sure if he'll be the first choice or if it will be Robbie Lingdington. But obviously what we did see is he's got pretty decent pace and physicals, and also really, really good crossing and tackling, to be fair. So he's good defensively as well as good in attack, which should be good this season. Just to swing in those balls, where asked Ballard to welcome into the club, sending him on an intensive language course and all of that lovely stuff. In other news as well, we have got other players joining in a minute. We've released some players, as we can see here. They're mostly youth players, some contracty stuff. We've got some players come back from loan. We'll have a look at all of that in a minute. I really want to get to the point where we see our new transfers come in, is what we're really waiting for here. And in theory, they should now all be arriving. That's our loans ending. Where are our new transfers? I know they exist because I can see it there on the screen. We've got Nasi, Seltz and Fernandez leaving the club. And here are new two signings as well. First up is Jason Selt. He comes over, I believe it was from Ajax. No, it was from PSV, sorry, on a free. We've just got him, obviously, at the end of his contract. He's another centre-back who can play as a ball-playing defender, which I feel like we could definitely do with, because we learned that last season. No one can play out from the back or as a central defender. He's 6'4". He's pretty tall. I think he'll be good as a bit of a squad depth option. Apparently, we're overloaded with defenders. I don't feel like we are. And then we've brought in Nasi Univar as well, a Dutch left winger. He's coming from Ajax. That's what I knew, someone had come in from Ajax. He can play over on left wing or through the centre as well. I'd argue he plays better through the centre, and he can play as a forward as well. I'd argue he plays better through the centre, but we'll probably play him over on the left. We look at him last season, 34 appearances for the Ajax youth team with 11 goals and 5 assists and a 7.24 rating. So I think he'll be a decent signing for us as well, and getting him on a free is always a nice little bonus. We'll just welcome these two guys to the club as well. I think at the moment that's all of our transfer dealings kind of dealt with. We've got Martin Skirtle coming in as potentially a coach, and it does look like we've just got some transfers come in as well. Roberto Fernandez has now left the club. We received £215,000 for him, and we're now just starting to get some transfers in. Zach Johnson, we're more than happy to let him go. If we have a look at Zach Johnson quickly, he's not very good, in all honesty. He's 23 and never likely to be good enough for this club. I'd hope by the time he is good enough to play in the Championship, we'll be well gone. Tenerife have just made a non-negotiable offer of 7.5 million for Abdou Haroui. I mean, yeah, we'll accept that. He's already under transfer offer. Daniel Cameron, yeah, I feel like we can probably let him go out on loan as well and just sort that out. If we have a look at the transfers out at the moment, Abdou Haroui is on under transfer from Parma for 7.5 million straight off the bat, and then Tenerife we just saw as well. So I'd imagine he'll be leaving the club in a minute. We've still, if we have a look at our transfer budget, got about £45,000 in the wage budget and 2.82 million. If we just have a look at our squad a second, we kind of sort out our tactic a little bit. I think at the moment we'd have new boy over here, either Nasi Univar or Jaden Anthony playing through here. Let's just put Univar in there for a second. Vangelis through the middle, I think, is probably what we're aiming for. He could play as either of these roles. Maybe he plays as a shadow striker, just so we can try and get some more goals out of this. Clark is probably our best bet over on the right wing at the moment. Hansen up front. So this is kind of what we're doing with. Everyone is pretty much free start, I'd argue. And actually, we can change you as well to Moreira. So I'd argue at the moment, probably our weakest position. We could do with a better deep line playmaker, because White isn't really a playmaker. He's not fantastic. And Clark could do with maybe improving. I mean, there's nothing wrong with him. He just doesn't really have a huge amount of potential, whereas everyone else in this squad globally has a decent amount of potential as well. So maybe if you can replace Clark, maybe if we can replace White as well, I think that would be pretty decent. I wouldn't be surprised as well to see Jaden Anthony leaving this transfer window. I think we've got enough depth to cope with that now. We have a look at like centre backs now. We've got Ballard, we've got Mbete, Kerr Smith, Jensen, Selt, Casanova can play there, Sakete can play there. There's lots of Liddington can play there as well. So we're pretty much there. We probably just need to get a couple more players, I think. And the spending continues. That's not really enough money, as it turns out. It probably needed to be a little bit more for that to actually work properly. But nonetheless, we have actually arrived at the first day of the new season where we're going to be playing Leeds. That will be in the next episode, not in this one, but we just want to have a look at the remaining transfers we've done. So we're about a month ahead. Obviously, this video, at least before I've edited it, seems quite long already, and I don't want to make you guys watch an hour worth of transfers. So let's just have a look what we've got leaving the club. Evan Robson, he's gone out on loan this season. He played a decent amount of games for us last season, to be fair. But he wasn't fantastic in any of them, and I think he just needs to go and get that game time to just improve to a point to be good enough for the club. So he's gone over to Wickham on loan for the season. Zach Johnson has gone to Carlisle. We'd never really played him. In fact, he made 9 appearances at Bolton on loan, so he hasn't played any football really at all, apart from those 9 appearances on loan, and he's 23, so it was probably time for him to go, which he has done. We've also sent Kone Zuzu out on loan. The big one out the door is Abdou Hawoui, the Moroccan central midfielder that we saw earlier, of course, is headed over to Tenerife. It will be a deal that will cost them £7.5 million. It wasn't all up front. Some of it is in installments. And then he was followed by Harry Toffolo as well, who's headed over to Charlton for £700,000. who we weren't likely to be dealing with either. So if you have a look at, obviously, the end of the season as well. So Pablo Mari's gone. We've got Ross Stewart gone. We've got Scott Allardyce. Some of our older guys are leaving. Some of the guys are on more expensive contracts. We've also managed to bring in a few more players as well, if we just arrange it that way round. We've managed to bring in Magnus Kofod. Kofod? I imagine it'd be Kofod. It's a Danish central midfielder. We're going to be having him as our deep line playmaker on defend this season. He's got really good first touch. He's got really good passing. His tackling is pretty decent. His technique is good. His vision is good. He is 29 years old, so he's a little bit older than the players we have been bringing in. But he's been playing on and off for Crystal Palace for the last 3 seasons. Before that, he was in Italy and had a semi-decent time. Now, I think he'll be decent this season. I think he's going to be a pretty important player for us, really. But we'll see how that goes. He's kind of our Nightingale replacement. By replacement, I mean we never actually had Nightingale. We then brought in Declan Gutteridge. He's on loan from Norwich for this season. Norwich, who are, I believe, in the Premier League still. I'm assuming they are. Yeah, they're still in the Premier League. We're paying a little bit of his wages, but he comes in to be our backup, or probably, to be honest, first choice right winger. He's very, very young, 19 years old. He's got really good physicals and he's got some decent technicals as well. So he, again, going to be quite important. We've then brought in Amir Saipai. He's going to be our backup goalkeeper. He's aware he's going to be our backup goalkeeper, but he wasn't under contract anywhere and we got him on a free, so it was worth bringing him in. Technically, on paper, he's potentially our best goalkeeper, him or Patterson, but it's not what we want to do. We want to be playing Peterson this season, Patterson as our backup, and then Saipai just as our backup, maybe our cup goalkeeper kind of thing. And then we've brought in Frankie Sterling on loan as well. He's come over from, I believe, from Spurs. So he's from Spurs. He's been on loan for the last 3 seasons. This will be his 4th season on loan. This is actually one my director of football put together, but it does make a lot of sense. He's got some pretty good physicals and technicals and all of that lovely malarkey. He scored 20 goals in the Championship for Blackpool last season, 13 the season before that for Cardiff. I think he's a good signing to have as well. If we have a look at our finances, we do still have a little bit of money in the kitty. In fact, we've got 7 million in the kitty, which is substantially more than what we started with. So 7 million, about 14,000 or so in wage budget. We can obviously maneuver this around a little bit if we need to, but to be honest, it probably does mostly need to be geared towards the transfer budget. We're still trying to bring in another central midfielder in the form of Luke Simon, who I think would be pretty good for us as well. Just have there as a rotation option. He'd rotate with Sukdi, I think. Possibly he comes in if we're just having a look at just some other bits as well, competition-wise. If we have a look at the Sky Bet Championship and the season preview, we're expected by the bookies to finish 9th this season. I want to do a little bit better than that. I mean, 9th would be a good improvement, but I want to do a little bit better than that. Vision-wise, we're expected to finish in the top half this season. And then playoffs next season, but I'd kind of like to get to at least playoffs this season. There's a couple of our players that we've signed as well that have non-promotion release clauses, and we'd kind of to avoid those being activated, at least if we can help it. But in the next episode, we're going to be starting with our first 2 games, which is going to be against Leeds and then against either Fleetwood if we want to do the Carabao Cup or Cardiff if we want to do the Championship. I'm just having a look as well off screen. I don't see Forest Green anywhere. Yes, I do. There's Forest Green. We don't play Forest Green for ages, so that's not that important. If you have enjoyed today's episode, of course, so please do drop a like down below. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already and you want to follow along with this Sunderland save. And thank you for watching.